Companies are supposed to be as efficient as possible in the name of maximizing profit. So then why the fuck are so many bloated with middle management? And why are they likely to outlast everyone else with the simple hack of job security?
Everybody thinks the middle managers are all idiots. Like, everybody hates middle managers.
If you listen to every activist investor or business manager trying to turn a company around, you won't have to wait long for them to talk about cutting out middle management as one of the steps in their plan to return a company to profitability. Hierarchical corporate structures, where senior executives are separated from the frontline staff by multiple levels of vice presidents, managers, and team leaders, are falling out of fashion. Overly complex management structures are frequently satirized as a relic of outdated corporate America. For its first 6 seasons, the Scranton branch of Dunder Miflin reported to David the CFO of the company.
Tomorrow? Yes.
A chief financial officer has no business getting involved in the day-to-day operations of a sales branch. That should be handled by an operations manager, like a chief operating officer or one of their reports. I don't know if this was an intentional addition by the showrunners, but it's hilarious because of how common it is for people in companies with complex corporate structures to end up with misaligned roles like this. No real business wants to be Dunder Miflin. They want to be like the tech companies that pioneered flat management structures and are now worth trillions. A survey conducted by researchers at the Wharton School of Business on 300 major American companies found that corporate hierarchies were indeed getting flatter with fewer positions between the CEO and the entry-level staff. You might think that's a bad sign for the career prospects of the middle manager, but you would be wrong. Middle managers aren't going anywhere, and they actually have more job security than you do for 3 big reasons. The first reason is that middle management is actually important. Management hierarchies were adapted from the military command, and militaries throughout the ages have used them because they work. According to an article published by the Wharton School of Business, flat organizational structures led to underperforming business performance in startup companies, which were the organizations most likely to adopt this style. The research found that structures without middle management were actually less agile than companies that kept a typical corporate hierarchy. When teams get too large, they are prone to spending too much time on meaningless collaboration instead of achieving objectives, and management is spread too thin to give support to their team or provide adequate oversight. Managers that oversaw 6 or more direct reports and answered to a senior manager that also had 6 or more direct reports both had less capacity and less pressure put on them to closely monitor issues in their team, meaning that underperformance, malpractice, and fraud was more likely to occur and go unnoticed with companies that did away with middle management. Theranos, FTX, and WeWork all made a very big deal about their flat management structure. Interactions with a superior are usually not negative. Smaller, more organized teams also make getting feedback, permissions, or simple FaceTime with a boss easier instead of promoting a culture where staff in large teams needs to fight amongst one another for the attention of their boss. The author of the article also pointed out that thanks to the power of compounding, most companies don't even need that many levels of management. If you were a manager with 6 employees, you could place them all directly under you in a flat management structure. Or you could have 2 middle managers, each with 2 analysts of their own. The average manager in the first model, which is only you, has to look after 6 employees. The average manager in the second model only has to look after 2. There are 15 different ways the team in the flat management structure can be arranged, making planning, delegating tasks very difficult. In the hierarchical structure, there is only one way a team can be arranged, making it clear who is in charge of what. All of these benefits come with adding just one more layer of management. Now, sometimes this does go too far, and corporate structures can easily get too hierarchical. But this is just the first reason. So it's time to learn how money works to find out why middle managers aren't going away no matter how much people make fun of them. The second reason that middle managers are going to outlast all of us is because they are one of the best tools that companies have to motivate staff. Middle managers can be good at making sure that staff stay focused by rewarding hardworking employees and punishing slackers. But even if you have a completely useless middle manager, their mere existence is enough to motivate people that want to move up the corporate ladder. According to a 2022 workplace survey conducted by Pew Research, the second most common reason that workers gave for leaving their job was no opportunities for advancement. A flat management structure means that there are fewer senior jobs for people to progress into, and there is more competition from their peers for what few positions do open up. The report found that almost as many people were leaving their job because there were no advancement opportunities as there were who left because they felt their pay was too low. If you ever find yourself running a company that wants to cut down on staffing costs, one of the most effective things you can do is actually introduce more managers. Managers are usually paid more than non-managers, but if it lowers staff turnover, it can pay for itself easily. Advertising a job opening to replace an employee costs on average $4,700 according to benchmarking data from the Society for Human Resource Management. that is just the cost to advertise the new position. Survey respondents in the study reported spending as much as 3 times a position salary to onboard a new staff member once all soft costs were accounted for. Hiring for a new position takes time away from the hiring manager and an HR team. There are background checks, onboarding procedures, and training times before the new employee will be as good as the outgoing employee. If you want to be a smart business owner, you can avoid this by giving your staff what they want: a promotion. And the more levels of management you have in your organization, the more promotions there are to go around. The best part is you can even pay them less. Managers earn more than non-managers, but they usually earn less than new hires who can negotiate their wage upon entering the business. Employees that move companies every 2 years on average earn 50% more than their peers who stay at their companies long term. That's why if you are an employee, you should always be on the lookout for a new job. But if you own the company, you should be trying to keep people around for as long as possible. The third reason that middle managers will outlast us all is because most of the hiring and firing in a company is done by these people. Large company layoffs come in 2 varieties. The first is a top-down restructuring where the board of directors or major investors will demand a shakeup in senior company leadership, starting with the CEO and the rest of the C-suite. This can happen because the CEO was incompetent or fraudulent in their work, and the directors think they will get a better result with new leadership. The average tenure of a Fortune 500 CEO is just 5 years, according to a record from the Harvard Business Review. 71% were fired. Only 28% of Fortune 500 CEOs left their positions on their own terms, and the remaining 1% died while having the job. After all, their average age was 58, and it is a highly stressful job. Senior managers can also be fired if their company is acquired or merged with another company. There is no reason to have 2 sets of C-suite employees. So in the case of an acquisition or a merger, the new board of directors will meet to decide who is kept and who is paid a nice fat severance. That second type of company-wide layoff is a reduction in force, which occurs when company revenues are down and less staff are needed for daily business operations. These removed employees from the bottom up, and senior management will usually delegate the decisions for who to lay off to middle managers who have a better idea of who the strong and weak performers are on their team. Despite the big talk from some activist investors, middle managers are usually the last people targeted during layoffs. And since they are also full-time employees, they are harder to fire individually as well. So if middle managers actually do offer value to their companies and have such good job security, then why are they always the target of ridicule? Most of the time, it's because companies don't hire middle managers for the right reasons. A good middle manager should be able to take the long-term vision for the company set out by the CEO and translate that vision into actionable duties for their team to perform, and after that, their job is to make sure that their team has everything they need to perform those duties. A lot of middle managers are instead hired for 3 of the wrong reasons. The first reason is to manage processes instead of people. A good middle manager should be a one-stop point of contact for all of their subordinates for all of their duties. If a sales team has one manager that manages their sales performance, another manager that manages benefits like pay, insurance, and leave, and another manager that manages training, the sales team is going to get confused over who to talk to about what. Companies trying to make this flawed system work will use phrases like the matrix organization or dotted line reporting. So if you hear these terms, you might be in for a bad time. The second incorrect reason that companies hire middle managers is to reward good employees even though they don't need another manager. A survey by McKinsey & Company on middle management found that personnel in these positions were more often wasted when there wasn't a need for a manager-level position at all. Employees in these roles ended up doing just the same work as the team below them, most of them causing dissatisfaction and higher job stress because they are working 2 jobs at once. If new management positions are created, existing management positions need to give up some of their power to the new people below or alongside them in the corporate structure, or else these positions become meaningless. If a person is given a management title but no agency, it can also be confusing for their subordinates to know who to talk to. The third reason middle managers get their position is the old Dilbert principle. A Dilbert, popularized by the satirical cartoonist Scott Adams, is someone who was a high-performing employee, who got promoted over and over again until they were given a job that they weren't good at anymore. Since they are no longer a high-performing employee, they won't get promoted anymore, so they end up spending most of their career doing a job that they are not good at. More people than ever are passing over promotions because they would rather do a job that they are good at rather than take on the stress of a more senior position. Some employees are even taking advantage of low-stress roles that let them work from home or work 2 or more full-time jobs at the same time. Many have worked out that they would get paid more and still work less hours than their manager who would do their own work while also looking after their subordinates. Management is a unique skill that companies are going to find harder to fill because people realize that there is more money to be made in easier roles with less stress. So if you want to be a middle manager, don't let the world shame you. It's a hard, underappreciated job, but you will always be needed. Now, the final reason that middle managers will outlast us all is because middle management roles are easy to make and hard to get rid of as companies get older. Go and watch my new video about how to start a company that will last 1,000 years over on How History Works to see this process in action. If you want to watch these videos daily and get daily articles that will never be made into videos for YouTube, then subscribe to my email newsletter Compounded Daily to keep on learning how money works.